Hello, everyone. This is our Gay. I'm joined here by my online BFF forever friend. Yes, he's the one and only Jewpiter.
Online. We're not
Uh,
friends in real life.
I've been meaning to tell you this. I'm just using you for clout. 'Cause I'm really into clout.
Maga, did you hear this?
Also, I'm using Mag.
Okay, all right. You know what? All right, listen, I don't want to talk anymore. So we're going to start with something. Now, apologies. I am going to trash your name by accident
How dare you?
because it's very difficult. Her name is Elle, I believe. Ellel. Trasac? And she picked up on something we talked about last week. And she said, she was like, I'm one of the 12 beautiful bastards that watches you. So I'm thinking we'll dub our watchers as the 12 beautiful bastards. And I want to give a shout out to a few people. First of all, a little scolding Kevin, Jack Timmerman, Cardo Head, and Noah Clark. I'm not taking my shirt off on the live feed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we talk about how on my even though we broadcast it on my channel, all the comments are about sexually objectifying you. Granted, I am just an
By the way,
avatar.
you four are gorgeous, and if no one's told you recently, you made my day, and I love you to death. Also, let's give a little shout out to our Elle and Donna, of course, Costello.
Oh no.
Those are our girls, and we love them, and Craig, of course. And I just wanted to say that Elle picking up on the 12 beautiful bastards, because we said, all 12 of you, you 12 beautiful bastards that watch us. I love that. So, all right, let's start the show. Got to give a little love.
Definitely. And yeah, today, what are we talking about to you, 12 beautiful bastards? We are talking about kind of an idea that we came up with. Well, an observation. The normies are restless. They are waking up. And more specifically, I believe that the clout of online social justice rage and cancel culture wokeness just doesn't really have the same potency that it did before because of current conditions. And we have some theories as to that's my position about it. And I think that we're going to talk about why this is and some of the more interesting aspects of it.
It's funny because since we're all there's the old adage that the reason only Democrats protest is because Republicans have jobs and we're busy. And a lot of people are like, oh no, it's because you're all dumb, rubes. But all of a sudden, the country gets shut down. All of our jobs get taken away. And guess what? The rubes protested. Michigan, North Carolina, California, there were thousands. The funny thing is, though, those of us that are not protesting are at home. And we have a little bit more time for those of us that aren't news junkies like Cats and me, and probably a lot of you watching, we have a lot more time to peruse the internet. And a lot of people are waking up to the bullshit. And this episode is really centered on the normies being restless, meaning they're starting to wake up to all of the nonsense that they usually have to get secondhand. Now they're getting it firsthand, and they don't like what they see.
If they get it at all, because let's be honest, most of the stuff that people like us get upset about is Twitter stuff, YouTube stuff. It's stuff that, yeah, there are people, everyone watches YouTube and goes online, but most people, it's an extremely passive activity. It's not something that they're diving headfirst into. And what could be less interesting to someone who's just worked a hard day or is working a hard day than some blue-haired feminist talking about pronouns? Like literally the opposite of interesting. So of course they're not going to pay attention. And when you and I get upset about some of the crazy stuff that these people are actually doing, not just saying, people just tune it out because they assume, well, they're just extremists, they're just crazy people, whatever. Like if they think anything at all, it's like, weird.
Right, and they think here's the problem. This is how it grew. We all know how it started in the universities and blah blah blah, but the real thing is the normies thought, and especially the boomer normies, like especially the boomer Democrats, they thought that this was like a controlled, tiny little group that they're loud, but who cares? No one's really like this. And they go online and they're like, oh my God,
This is
we're,
all these people talk about.
we're fucking crazy. The Democrats are fucking crazy. That's why the minute the coronavirus started, within 2 weeks, Trump's numbers went down, and then all of a sudden they shot up like a bullet. Why do you think that is? Because all these people are like, wait a minute, what do you mean pedophiles should be part of the LGBTQ plus IA348 community? And wait, by the way, what is I know what LGBT is, I'm fine with that, but what's plus QI3456794? Like, they're like, what is this? And all of a sudden, you start seeing people being like, wait, things really are getting out of hand. Maybe these crazy Nazis aren't Nazis because I just got called a Nazi and I'm a lifelong Democrat. All I said was, I don't think that pedophiles should be part of LGBTQ, and I got called a Nazi.
Mm-hmm. I think along with that, one of the unexpected outcomes of this has been, I think the coronavirus has served as kind of the ultimate equalizer. Like, we're all equal right now. We're all fucked equally, pretty much, with some minor exceptions. I'm sure the Waltons and Jeff Bezos the Wall family, whatever, and Jeff Bezos are doing just fine. But,
better than ever.
What?
Better than ever.
Yeah. But all of a sudden, I feel like a lot of these petty issues that people tend to rant about in university classes suddenly seem openly petty. Because let's put it this way, even before all of this, it was all of this intersectional social justice was the ultimate intellectual indulgence. It was a product of a combination of people that were regular people were too busy to notice because they were, doing shit. And university people had nothing else to do except, introspect about their navels and like the oppression of different kinds of lint.
They're paid for it.
And it's a good thing that you brought up the university, because that's one of the things I thought about. Is I think one of the other reasons why the wind has sort of been taken out of the social justice sails is largely because the universities are not in session right now. And even though people are still learning, even though people are still going to school, there's actually been a lot of professors early on who were afraid to record their classes because they were literally, in their own words, I'll try to attach an article about this. They were afraid that some of the more controversial subjects they talk about would be exposed and that people would use...
Oh, I heard this.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. They were saying that we don't want to do Zoom because we don't want... All right, so the original phrasing, this is funny, the original phrasing was, we don't want our more controversial subjects out there, some of the things we talk about in our classes. And we were all like, what? And then that same professor and his administrator was like, well, and there was a group of these professors, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, no, we don't want right-wing groups to take us out of context. And always, always, always look for the words right-wing. Right-wing means something that could go, anything that goes against the system or the administrators or something corrupt immediately gets brandished with right-wing, Nazi,
fascist,
racist, blah, blah.
Insert label here, but it's the other. It's the wrong.
But these same professors, and it was a luxury. And all of a sudden you had these people being like, no, it'd be racist to say that people from China who have a deadly disease, and this is not my opinion, by the way. I don't really believe that, but this is the left's talking points. This is the most deadly disease of all time. Like, this is going to we need to shut down the economy of every Western nation, every single one of them. And that's how bad it is. But it'd be racist to stop travel to the country that it's coming from. So people started being like, wait. We were on board when we weren't listening. You were just kind of white noise in our ears saying, oh, they're racist, they're Nazis, they're flying Confederate flags. But to say it's racist, to say Chinese people, for just now, guys, you can't come in. You're kind of toxic. And normies, started being like, wait, how is that racist? I don't want my kids to die. My father's 80. I can't have these people in this country. And so, yes, as I always say, the natives are restless. The normies are restless. They are, and they're waking up. And God, thank God.
Yeah, and they are. You can really divide the country into two schools of thought about the coronavirus, the way that things have developed now. There are those that are still clinging to the idea that it's the worst thing since the Black Death. Like it's just gonna, we need to keep the economy locked down for at least 2 more years. Um, and then there are the other people who are like, this doesn't seem to be that bad, but even if it were, we can't live like this. This isn't
Right.
living. And there's no discourse between these camps because they're antithetical positions. Basically, one is based on absolute fear and uncertainty, and the other one is based on self-determinism, and those are incompatible.
But it's strange because this virus somehow, and it's not strange, let's be honest, but it's strange that this got divided on party lines. Like the Democrats are like, no, we need to shut the country down indefinitely until there's 0 cases of corona. And the Republicans are all like, no, that's ridiculous. But here's the kicker. Yes, that's not strange. We've been divided on party lines since Obama's second term, and I get it, especially through Trump, it amplified it. But right now, there are people in California who are lifelong liberals that are mobilizing against this. And this is the one thing that broke the party lines. At first, it seemed like, no, it's just going to be Democrats saying shut the economy down forever. And then the Republicans are going to be saying, no, we want our elderly to die. And we just want big business or whatever they're saying. But now, all of a sudden, liberals are like, wait a minute, I have my boutique that I have 2 employees and I can't pay them and they're going to leave. And then my suppliers are going out of business. I don't think I can fall on party lines right now. It's kind of like the old saying about how if you're not a liberal before you're 30, you don't have a heart, and if you are a liberal after 30, then you don't have a head. Well, people are starting to become 30, meaning they're starting to realize I have a company. I have employees that I love. I'm a liberal. I'm a hardcore liberal. I want universal health care and all that, but I can't provide my employees with even a wage if we continue this. And so, yes, the natives the normies are certainly restless.
Everyone is getting restless. And the arbitrary nature of the shutdown in so many places is also becoming basically impossible to ignore. Like where people are asking like, okay, so, only essential businesses can be open right now. Well, what's an essential business though? Food? Sure. But why are liquor stores and smoke shops still open? Well, because those sell heavily taxed products. So, I mean, and I don't want people to be saying like, that's not me saying like we need to shut these places down. I've gotten to the point where I really don't believe in this essential business thing anymore. I think what it is like, I think that businesses should operate under safe principles, but they're not even giving you the opportunity. There are so many businesses, small businesses in particular, that are very quick and nimble, able to adjust their business to the environment because that's how they became small business owners in the first place. But they're not being given the opportunity to even try to be safe and change their business. They're being told, no, you just can't do it.
And wait, so there was this guy that's exactly right. There was this guy on Tucker. He was like, I have a place that seats 250 people. I have a restaurant, and I can fit 100 people on my deck. I have this big-ass restaurant, okay? He's like, I could easily only allow a certain amount of people in. I could easily have people well over 6-foot distance from each other. I could have all this done, but somehow I'm not allowed. I'm opening. And they're closing beaches, which makes no sense.
Because the virus can't survive outside, and sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Yeah, I mean, there's even a test where 2 really prominent world leader labs that were like in a room with 20% humidity, 70-degree heat. The virus lasts for like an hour or two. In sunlight, it lasts like 2 minutes. Or 10 minutes. So the thing is, people are starting to be like, wait, this doesn't make sense that we have to close the entire country, but weed stores are open. And by the way, like you said, we're not arguing that they should be closed. Fine. But liquor stores, I get. There are people who, if they didn't drink liquor, it would clog up our health system even more because they go into withdrawals. It's one of the only two withdrawals that can kill you. The other one is benzodiazepines.
And it also allows people to manage their stress. I mean, like, as long as they're doing it, we don't want people to drink too much, obviously, or do anything in too much. But if you take away the liquor stores, then a lot of these people who are anxious and just bored out of their skulls, it's going to be a lot worse. So,
well, Pennsylvania, our liquor stores, as I've explained, we're controlled by the state. All of our liquor stores are owned by the state. You can't buy liquor anywhere but a state store. So we got cut off, but my point on state stores is that we finally reopened for curbside. So we're one of the only states that all of our liquor stores are owned by the state. So now we're open for a curbside. Here's the thing. I tried to call the number personally, and I didn't get any signal. It was just a busy signal for days. So I actually work across from the state store, and you can see them from my work. So I was there and looking over, and I see there's a guy outside, and a security guard and a wine and spirits store worker. So I walk over there, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? There's 3 people, 3, outside, like, we can't get through. We haven't been able to get through for days. And people are starting to get pissed. And this isn't a left-right issue. People who drink alcohol, which is most of the country, to be honest.
The great uniter.
Right, it really is. And people are like, this doesn't make sense. Every other state has alcohol. People are driving to other states to buy alcohol. Why can't we? Like, and the guy goes, we only have 2 phone lines. We have thousands of people calling them. And we're only doing certain amount of bottles a day, period. So I see 3 guys. One is definitely not a Trump supporter. Definitely. He's like some grungy, like, I guarantee you he complains about Trump on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, this doesn't make sense. And then he says something that was just like, blew my mind. He goes, why is it every single time the government runs something, it sucks? And I said to him, I'm like, yes, thank you.
I agree. And this is the kind of thing where the only real way I think that people can break out of the partisan mindset is when they see issues that are illustrated that are basically, it's almost like a star alignment. Like, that guy, you said, probably a liberal, has gone through most of his life not necessarily ever questioning the order of things beyond a sort of binary where it's like, they're bad, we're good, because everything's worked out for him. But all of a sudden, he's starting to see that the principles that he supports are constraining him in a way that he didn't realize they did, and he didn't like it. It caused cognitive dissonance. I found something I wrote down from last week after the podcast that you wanted me to remind you about, and it actually ties in perfectly to this. I wrote down, the pandemic is bringing out all kinds of arbitrary power fantasies in low-level functionaries. And you can see it everywhere.
No, repeat it slowly.
The pandemic is bringing out all kinds of arbitrary power fantasies in low-level functionaries.
And explain that and speak slowly so even I can understand.
This is the first time where if you're a government employee, even some minor functionary in an emergency, your lowly position has been elevated. Even if you're just a dumb security guard or something, and I'm not insulting security guards, but I'm saying, whoever, if you have a shred of authority right now, it's worth 10 times what it was before, because people are scared. People are being told they have to listen to you no matter what. And for some people, they're rising to the occasion and trying to do their best. But there are a lot of other people, we usually call them assholes, who have been lying in wait for the perfect opportunity to actually matter. They're the proverbial nerd that got shoved into the locker in high school, or some loser. And all of a sudden they're able to tell the dumb jock, hey, you know what? Stop running. Like it's the hall monitor mentality.
And it was profound. I mean, and by the way, he said this just on a conference. We were talking on the phone, and he said this, and I was just like, I was blown away by it, because I had an experience. It's not even worth telling, but the way that description is so apt and perfect, because people really are doing that. And when I went to this liquor store, for instance, the guy who I said to him, I was like, well, you know, do you realize now that like the VA sucks? And do you know what he said to me? I'm not kidding. He goes, well, the VA is actually not as bad as you think. And I ended the conversation there. I know much better than he does about this subject, but he's wrong. And a lot of people are realizing that when government takes control of your life, they suck at it. They suck. And all these people who are like, wait, the government's supposed to take care of us, and they're also supposed to make sure none of us leave our homes. We're not allowed to open our businesses, but they give us $1,200. Wait a minute. That $1,200, I paid more than that in taxes last year. What do you mean $1,200? And I'm like, right, that was your money. Your money. They handed you a fraction of what you gave them last year just to pay you off to shut the fuck up and obey. And people are starting to realize this pandemic will make more Trump supporters than, or at least conservatives. Because Trump is a polarizing figure. There's no question. I mean, we love him, but a lot of people don't. But if this was Ted Cruz or some mainstream, slimy, wax-faced Republican, people would start being like, no, I'm with him. He's right.
I agree. I think that that's the best point that we can really conclude this on, is that this is a wake-up call for a lot of people. It's a wake-up call for the fragility of life, but also the fragility of your life, not just physically, but in terms of what all the privileges and all of the things that you take for granted as just a regular person, a regular American, wherever you happen to live. All that's been taken away in an instant, and everyone, all of a sudden, you're all alone, and it doesn't feel good. And I want everyone to remember how you feel right now, and make sure that you don't get left behind, that you take what is yours, because no one has the right to take it from you.
And remember that before this pandemic, you didn't feel this way.
No. So everyone, you beautiful bastards, you take care of yourselves. This is our Cats, Gay, and Jewpiter signing off.